So today our program is focused on that advocacy piece and wanting to make sure we have an opportunity for our members to hear from the candidates that are looking to serve our community, specifically in the mayor's race that'll be taking place in April, the election coming up on April 7th. And so today we've invited both candidates for mayor to come and answer a few questions. I'll give you a quick format rundown. We've invited two moderators, Jeff Cunningham with KFVS and Rick Fair with Southeast Missourian, that'll be providing the questions today. Our candidates will be invited to the stage. They will begin with a 3-minute opening statement to give a little bit of information and background about themselves, and then we have a series of questions that we'll present to them in an alternating order, where they have 2 minutes for the first respondent to answer the question, and then 1 minute for the second respondent to answer the question. We'll alternate back and forth, and then we'll close with a 2-minute close at the end. We'll keep this as close as we can to about 30 minutes. We understand everybody's got a morning to get to, but we want to make sure you get a chance and time to hear from the candidates. So that's a quick rundown. I'll get ready to turn things over to our moderators, and at this time I'd like to welcome up Mayor Stacy Kinder and Mr. Robbie Gard, our candidates for the mayor of Cape Girardeau for the upcoming election.
All right, welcome everyone to the First Friday Coffee and this mayoral debate. I'm Jeff with Rick. We will be asking these questions. Not used to being up this early, but I live in Jackson, so a cold shower at 6:30 will wake you up, I found out. We have a variety of questions for the candidates, which we will get to in a minute, but we flipped a coin for the opening statements. So, Mr. Gard, you will go first, followed by Mayor Kinder, and then, Mayor Kinder, you will get the first question. So, let's start with your opening statement, Mr. Gard.
Okay. First, my opening statement is, go SEMO Redhawks. 2 great wins last night. I didn't get to watch the second half because we had to get up early this morning. My name is Robbie Gard. I'm a lifelong resident here of Cape Girardeau, 5th generation, extremely proud of that. Went to Hawthorne Elementary, graduated from Cape Public Schools in SEMO. Started in banking 20 years ago. Very, very proud of what MRV Banks has done here locally. When I started with that bank, I was the first employee. And what we have done here locally, and which I'm extremely proud of, is we built a great team. 42 employees that we've added into this economy over the last 14 years, and the trust that we have seen. I am married to Carrie Gard. My wife works at WIC, the WIC department, at the health department. She has for the last 23 years. We have 2 daughters. Glad. I was wondering where that was. Thank you, Rob. We have 2 daughters, Morgan, who is 24 and works in the medical industry, and Claire Gard, who is at the middle school here in Cape Girardeau. In my professional life, outside of work, I've served in a lot of different organizations. I started out in the Cape Chamber. When I was still in college, I owned a business downtown and joined the Chamber. In 2005, I went through Leadership Cape. The last time I was probably on a stage was probably in 2005, giving a presentation on Leadership Cape, and I get to go by the dog park that was my group's presentation every day. With that being said, whether it was the Cape JCs, being president of that club, Noon Lions Club, serving in that, I'm really proud of the work that we have done with Gibson Recovery Center. I serve on that board. Gibson Center for Behavioral Health, sorry, Ryan. And then also serving on Southeast Health, College of Nursing and Health Sciences. Why do I get involved? Why do I ask all of my associates and colleagues and employees at MRV to get involved? And it's simply because we're trying to make something better. There is a guy, and Jeff will attest, that we were in JC's with 25 years ago, Matt Hollis, and he said to me one day, and it just hit me with like a ton of bricks. He said, whatever organization, whatever you do, leave it better than you found it. And that has stuck with me over the last 20 years. And so that's why I'm here today. I want to leave Cape Girardeau, my hometown, I want to leave it better than I found it. So that would be it. Thank you all. Thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Guard. Mayor Kinder, your opening statement, please.
Thank you, Rick and Jeff. Thanks to the casino for always allowing these gatherings to happen. Thank you to the Missourian and KFVS, certainly, for helping put on this local election debate. It's very important for the public to get to hear from the folks interested in local leadership, for sure. In every campaign, as Mr. Guard mentioned, candidates have to answer the why of why they're running for office. And when people ask me that, it's usually in the tone of, Stacey, why are you doing this? That often comes after someone reads an ugly comment on social media or finds out how much the mayor of Cape actually makes. It's $150 a month, by the way. But this position has become a full-time job for me, and I'm very passionate about it. And I'd love to continue serving in the community. We'll hear more about both of us, our whys. But let me tell you a little bit about myself as a way to answer that why. I am a formerly intense and competitive child, and back in the 70s, I was often the only little girl on the City League team. I ran track and cross country in high school and college, and there I eventually earned a degree in physics, which I used in my brief career as a high school physics and geometry teacher before I started raising kids. I then started volunteering my way up the Cape Public Schools food chain, ultimately serving on the Cape Public Schools Board of Education for 6 years. I then chose to jump into the wild world of city government and joined the city council here in 2018. Obviously, I've been the mayor for the past 4. And through all that, I've learned a lot. Things like grit, humility, learning from mistakes, and a lot of math. I have learned to cultivate creative problem solving in an organization. And in all my growing roles of leadership, I've learned time and time again that good leadership can look many different ways. But it's needed most when others can't or won't deal with the hard stuff. When I joined the City Council in 2018, I began to see a need for better leadership in some very large and difficult issues the city was facing, involving budgeting, public safety, and infrastructure. There was too much discussion of, well, that's the way we've always done it, or so-and-so won't like us seeing us do that, so I'm going to vote no. I decided that being mayor of Cape would allow me to help properly address some big things head on. And so my why in the campaign is this. There's a constant level of work needed by a city government, not just to keep things rolling down the right track, but also to keep creating improvement. And being involved in that work has become a passion of mine. I've helped guide some monumental improvements in how we pay our public city staff, our public city officers, safety officers, and how we plan to afford massive infrastructure needs moving forward. I've helped implement smart new ways to do things on my time on the council and as your mayor, and I want those things to continue. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mayor Kinder. So as we said, the format is 2 minutes to answer the question with a 1-minute rebuttal. For those who don't know, Rob's down here timing the candidates for us. And we're going to start again with Mayor Kinder in the first question. 2 minutes to answer this one on public safety. During the past 5 years, there have been many advancements in technology, such as the flock camera system, shot spotter, and even new fire trucks for the city are on order. As mayor, how can you make sure the people who use this new technology are the best and the brightest and are properly compensated so other entities cannot lure them away? Mayor Kinder.
Well, what you hit on, first of all, public safety, and also the salary issues in the city are probably the biggest topic that I have dealt with and wanted to deal with in my time as mayor, and even on the city council before that. Across all ages, all genders, all demographics, these are the issues that people want to talk about and have concerns about. When I became mayor in 2022, there were some pretty tough data points that we were dealing with as a city. Our public safety forces, police and fire, salaries were among the lowest in the state. We had over 25% of our public officer forces positions unfilled, 20 out of 80. Much of the leadership in the city had a long-standing opinion at that time that crime was only something that impacted people if you were dealing with drugs, or that talking about crime here would make us look bad. I found that not talking about it leads to not addressing issues. And so we made the salary issue the #1 priority in the city. We focused on our operating budget on increasing salaries and benefits, which in turn has had a profound impact on the recruitment and retention of our public safety forces here. Since 2022, the average starting salaries in our public safety forces has gone up 41% in our police department. It's gone up 43% in our fire department in 5 years, 4 years. All police officer positions are now filled, with over 20 unfilled 4 years ago. We are now down to full employment. Our traffic patrol has been reinstated. And overtime in the police and fire departments is way down. All of that is having a profound impact on us being able to recruit and retain the great officers and firefighters that we have here.
Thank you, Mayor Kinder. Mr. Girardeau, you have 1 minute to respond.
I think that it's fair to give credit where credit is due. I loved my time on the city council. Coming out of COVID was a very tough time for law enforcement. We saw a lot of people leave. Kudos to Lisa Mills and Bridget Kilhoffner for the job that they did in the budget department. And on my time on council, which overlapped with Mayor Kinder's, we were able to do a lot for that public safety and the money and the salaries that they have. With that being said, it's not all just about salaries and wages. It's also about culture. And after meeting with our police officers 2 weeks ago, we are going to continue to lose some officers to the county, which is why I've been working with prosecuting attorney Mark Welker, supporter of mine, on trying to work with the county to find redundancies within the county and the city to not only save us money, but to also make us more safe. I also want to put in real-time crime center. Talk about that later.
Good morning, folks. Part of the job is making often difficult financial decisions. In 2023, when both of you were on the council, the city voted to give $600,000 annually to SEMO for 17 years to help fund stadium reconstruction. A big part of that has been completed, but SEMO recently announced potential budget cuts that could put future phases of that project on hold. They might not happen. Given that, should the city reconsider the rest of its annual $600,000 contribution to the university? And are there other budget items that you think the city might have to reduce or should invest more in? Robbie, this is going to you first.
Perfect. Do I think that the city should reevaluate? No. Southeast Missouri State University is a very strategic partner to the city of Cape Girardeau. If we did not have that university, the local economy would be devastated. Now, did we get it? Maybe did we get the process wrong about how we decided we were going to give that money out? Yeah, we should have listened to our residents much more. What I would say is that going forward, if you look at what that tax was for with people coming in here, it was very laid out by that previous councils that it would be used for downtown development, economic development. I have faith in the university leadership, especially with Dr. Hodson and his work that he has done in his previous life at Jefferson City, that they'll be able to bridge those gaps and get that project to fruition.
Thank
you. This might be something that Mr. Gard and I have a lot of agreement on. Maybe one of the few, but we'll see. SEMO is a huge strategic partner for the city, and not just for the city government. I mean for our community. There is one organization that brings thousands of young people to our town. That is SEMO. There is one facility, actually several facilities, but the Houck Stadium facility is a facility that brings thousands of people to our downtown. That impacts all sorts of things. Quick timeline, yes, as Mr. Gard mentioned, in 2012, the casino and the casino fund were created. There was an emphasis, there continues continues to be an emphasis in using that money on one-time expenses, and a lot of that focus is on downtown expenditures. We have stated over and over that that money is not to be used for ongoing expenses, especially things like salaries and whatnot.
That's fun, isn't it, with the stop?
Yeah, I don't like that, Rob, at all, but...
Neither do I, Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor Kinder, and thank you, Mr. Guard. Our next question goes to the mayor. This is about infrastructure. Recently, the city and voters decided to invest in updating the aging water system, although I know a lot of people are under a boil water order currently. What is the next major infrastructure issue that needs to be addressed in Cape? Mayor Kinder, you have 2 minutes.
So infrastructure issues in any city are ongoing. They never end. A road that Lexington, we just got done redoing that road. It's wonderful. And by the way, you're welcome for all the traffic cones and the detours, Delta. But Lexington will one day need to be redone. All of our streets do. I would say in terms of big infrastructure, we know TTF 8, which we voted on and approved last year, is going to come in another 5 years, and the community will again be presented with projects that need redoing. The water infrastructure is the same. We just got done, I spent a year of my life talking about water issues and water infrastructure here in Cape. We will have to continue that conversation so that we don't fall into that, I think the bad pattern the city did fall into of ignoring growing problems, deferred maintenance. That is how we ended up with a giant list of capital improvements needed in our water system through decades of not wanting to really talk about it, especially to the public, not wanting to bring the bad news to the community. That is how we ended up where we were last year, having to go to the public and say, we have a massive problem. It's going to take a massive solution. Here it is. We've worked it out. And ultimately, obviously, with that vote approved, I think a good number of our community understood. But it took a lot of communication. I would say I drew the short straw as mayor in being in this position at the time when that all came to a head. I don't think anyone envied my position last year in having to go to voters and say, folks, we have to raise our rates. But I did it. I think that's an important part of this position and the leadership it requires.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Guard, you have 1 minute.
1 minute. I look at water and I look at streets. The federal government puts out a test, and if you look at the city of Cape, according to that test, we're average. Well, I've talked to a lot of residents, and they don't want to be average with respect to our streets. With respect to water, I was talking to a supporter of mine, Jeff Glenn, who's sat on many TTF committees. A novel idea would be that once our major needs are fulfilled with respect to the water increase, is that we go back to the voters and we take that back. We gave a blank check to our city government, and a blank check is not trustworthy government. It's just not. And I believe that once our needs are fulfilled, we need to do that. I believe with respect to TTF, guys, Mr. Janet said that essentially, listen, these prices are going up every day. We're going to have some hard conversations because I don't believe that TTF 7, 8, 9, and 10 are going to be able to fix our infrastructure needs. Thank you.
Let's talk about the city's unhoused population for a moment. That's a topic that regularly comes up. And some of the issues that directly involve municipal government, including wintertime fires. We had a rash of those lately in abandoned buildings that the fire department has to deal with. Both of you have addressed homelessness while serving as an elected official. In November 2023, Mr. Guard, you voted against funding for a United Way warming center, saying, quote, I don't personally believe we should be getting involved in this, unquote. Just this week, Mayor, after learning of a program that connects homeless and transient people with services that happen to be many miles from Cape Girardeau, you characterize that as brilliant. What would be your plan for the city's unhoused population? Robert, this goes to you first.
Thank you. And I stick by my comments from 2023. In a municipal government, I don't believe that your tax-paying dollars should be used for social issues like that. Now, what I will say as mayor, what I would do is I would love to bring Gibson Center for Behavioral Health, CPCMO, Community Counseling Center, the United Way, and really address what homelessness is. From talking to people and working with people like Ryan Essex, is to say we have mental health issues and we have substance abuse issues that are causing the majority of our homelessness. There is a portion in there that are unhoused. What we need to do as a community, working with our nonprofits and our churches, is to address those issues. And so, do I believe that's the tax dollars being used to fund those? Absolutely not. I do not. But I believe that as mayor, you step up, and as a city council, you try to bring those groups together to fix that issue.
Mayor?
Yeah, thank you. I did actually exactly what Mr. Gard just mentioned. In 2022, when the issue of homelessness and especially extreme weather sheltering, winter sheltering, came up. I brought together United Way, Salvation Army, Catholic Charities, CPCMO, Street Level, all these groups, and that's what ended up helping the United Way create that concept. They came to the city council ultimately asking for $10,000 in support. Ultimately, the majority voted that down. I voted for it, and I'll tell you why. As we have seen this winter, the Cape Warming Center, a fully volunteer-run organization involving a lot of different ministries, a lot of churches, nonprofits, they have been running this winter. Have seen over 170 people in that shelter. There have been 400 volunteers working, 50 nights, I believe, they've been open. The important thing that they have done, though, is connected those people, in many cases, to actual housing. There's $0 there. Just one thing I want everyone to understand. The city supports CMO Pets with $90,000 a year. Unhoused animals are getting city support for $90,000 a year. Unhoused people get $0.
Now, a reminder, if there's anything you don't get to cover in one of your answers, you will have a 3-minute closing statement.
I ran over, my apologies.
That's okay. Next question we have, we'll go to Mayor Kinder first. This one's about the economy. There's always a lot of talk about bringing jobs to the area, new businesses. Recently we were talking about the restoration of the old Sears building in town. This one's a pretty broad question, but what can you do as mayor to continue to build the economy in Cape Girardeau? Mayor, you have 2 minutes.
Well, the city has been a partner with the Cape Chamber and with CMO Ready for a long time. We want to continue that good support. The Chamber and CMO Ready do different things in that economic development world, but important things. And basically, our partnership, the city partnership, is because we know those things need to be done. We as a city don't do them, and we appreciate what the Chamber and CMO Ready do. Within the city, our city development department is a very important piece of this whole conversation. When I got on the city council in 2018, from just what I heard, it was one of the most complained about departments. It had the most concern, very vocal dissatisfaction coming especially from the development community about the development department. And so a lot of work has needed to be done. In the past few years, our city manager has really emphasized with the development department that its priority needs to make it easy for people to develop business and to open business here, and they are greatly succeeding in that. There's a focus on customer service, which sounds, like why do we need to emphasize that? We needed to emphasize that, and we are. That department has become responsive, efficient. It's developed really good, I think, relationships with developers and potential developers. It's streamlined a lot of things, and I'm hearing really, really good reports from developers about all of that. They have really taken a very active role in some significant commercial and residential development here, actively finding folks to actually, take on empty buildings, for example. That's having a profound impact on all sorts of things in the city.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Guard, you have 1 minute.
Yes. I've sat on SEMO Ready since 2017, and we've had an extremely low unemployment rate. What we need to do better as a city, we have made huge strides, and I'm proud of the work that I put in on council to help us get stronger in development services. Talking to local developers and supporters, Scott Rhodes, Jerry Jones. Guys, we're not there yet. There was an article put out last month, the mayor got it as well, that from the third quarter to the fourth quarter in the the MSA of Cape Girardeau, housing increased by 20%. Now, when you talk to a Scott Rhodes or a Jerry Jones and you talk about it, because of the codes and because of the expenses to building Cape Girardeau, it is 20% higher to building Cape Girardeau than it is in Jackson or the county. We have to be more competitive. If we are going to have housing that's affordable, we have to be more competitive. There's work to be done.
Anyone who's served in a leadership position has made decisions, sometimes difficult ones. Occasionally, hindsight will show that maybe we could have gone a different route. What is the decision you made as an elected official that you would now perhaps reconsider? Robert, this goes to you.
We talked about it earlier, and I look at some of the failures we have. In my last council meeting, I told the council, I said, I will always support the stadium issue. I will. I thought the process that we handled it, I thought we got it wrong. And we should have had a study session. We should have waited 2 weeks. We should have talked to residents. We should have brought them in, and then we should have voted on it. I still would have voted yes on it. But the trust that we lost in our community because of the way we handled it we're still seeing the effects. We still see it online, And so for me, I'm self-aware enough that whenever things have failed, we've got to change. You got to change your mentality. You got to change your process. And I want to change the process at City Hall to where, I was talking to Kathy Swan and Mark Lanzotti, proud to have their support. But back when they were on council, and even when I started, from 5 to 6 was a study session. And it didn't matter. And we studied everything. We studied, and what that allowed us to do was to be able to give direction to the city manager in public. That transparent form of government where we had people come up and we debated and we talked, and we didn't just sit there and say, thank you for coming. We actually engaged. And so I think that having seen what works and what doesn't, you've got to be able to change. Let's go.
Mayor?
Well, I'll just quickly say what Robbie's not mentioning about that 5 p.m. study session process was that at 6 o'clock, then the city council would convene to a conference room and have dinner together. And then at 7 o'clock would begin the regular meeting. And I've been told by many people who were in those dinners and private conference room moments that that's where the city council had a lot of their business discussed. That is the opposite of transparency. That is the opposite of, well, it's against, quite frankly, it's against sunshine law. Bob Fox, when he was mayor in 2018, he changed that schedule and basically said our city council meetings are going to start at 5 openly. We have a study session designation in all of our city council meetings if we have something that we really need to dig into, or if there's a community issue that people want to really discuss. That is an option in every council meeting that we have. Thanks.
Okay, it is time for closing statements, and we are going to start with you, Mayor. You have 3 minutes.
So we've really barely scratched the surface, but thank you for the time. I think there have been great strides made in some very important things here in Cape in the past 4 years. As I said before, I'd love to see that work continue. I'd love to be a part of that process. Cape voters, you have a very clear choice in this election. Mr. Gard and I spent 6 years together on the city council, and honestly, our voting records were quite similar. But we are very different people. We have very different views of leadership, and especially how this leadership position is to be used. I think my opponent is a return to the past ways of doing things that didn't always work very well for Cape. We cannot afford to go back to a leadership model that avoids the tough things, that doesn't inform the public about bad news, or that makes empty campaign promises that try to sound tough but don't address the real issues or present well thought out solutions. I have been, and I want to continue to be, a leader for Cape that keeps the focus of city government on the needs of our citizens, that takes responsibility for the financial decisions of the city, that has a real passion for the service part of public service. And if these are your priorities for your mayor here, then I think I'm the candidate for you. Much thanks to KFES, Century Casino, Cape Chamber for making this event happen today, which, as I said before, it's helping the public have a better, make a better informed decision. Thanks to all of you all for being here early, and to all those who I know will exercise your very important right to vote on April 7th. If you want to know more about my campaign, you can go to kinderforcape.com. You can follow me on my Facebook page. If you'd like a card magnet, I have some over here. This is the fun stuff of campaigning, but ultimately it's a good, important time because we get to talk about these things that I know are very important to our city. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Robin?
Yeah. Because I felt a little trapped behind here. And I appreciate the mayor trying to paint me into a corner or talk about what I am going to do or how I'm going to lead. Proof is in the pudding. The last 20 years of my life, I've led organizations, I've led a bank, I do economic development every day of my life. I meet with people every day. I talk to people every day, I talk to businesses, I talk to family members to try to make their lives better. And that's no different than in city politics or in city government. That's what you do. You sit, you call people back. You avoid lawsuits by sitting down with people. And no, I'm not going to have a dinner every night, every council member night. But we need to have a study session from 5 to 6, and then maybe at 6 o'clock we start the meeting. Because what's working in 20-minute council meetings is not working anymore. Because it looks like it's pre-deceived already. The city council needs to manage the city manager and not the city manager managing the council. So that's the type of leader I am. I roll up my sleeves and I get it done. I've been getting it done my whole life. That's all I got to say.
All right, that concludes this mayoral debate. Thanks to both candidates, Mayor Kinder and Robbie Gard, for participating. Thank you all for listening, and hope you learned something today, and have a good day.